two major issues that came up was roads and communication. So roads, we don't have a lot of control over, but communication we do. So what we're hoping to do here during this meeting is get some ideas and topics, things that you'd be interested in working with the commissioners together. We can set some goals, the objectives, the steps to get there, and whatever resources we need, and take ownership of it. So we can't just say nothing's happening. We can actually do something about it. Okay, on that note, I'm going to turn this over to our wonderful moderator, Mary. First, there's a new, there's a papers on the table over there that provides some data on roads, and Adrian provided that, so would you like to say a few words about it?
Yeah, sure, briefly. What I did was, I know that the community is desperate for getting our roads repaired, and what I did was I took a report that was directly from the town of Edgewood that was given to them back in 2020 that explains the cost of it. Because I think as community members, it's important to realize how much, if we maintain these roads, how much it's going to cost us per mile versus if we let them get away from us, how much it's going to cost per mile. Because see the significant savings if we maintain the old term we have. And that's what's back there. If you guys would like to grab a copy, I will be speaking on that issue and the infrastructure priorities question. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to start, and the way we're going to run this is we have 5 questions for each commissioner. Each commissioner will answer the questions, but they only get 2 minutes to do so that we can be very rapid. To my knowledge, they have had a peek at these questions before, correct? So they have some ideas, not like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I was talking about this. So we're going to start, and we're going to start with Commissioner number for District 5. Yes?
Good question. Can the audience have follow-up questions, or how would you like the ground rules?
What we're going to do is all the commissioners can answer the questions, and this is for time. We don't want to get held up in the middle of the questioning. Then once all the questioning is done, the commissioners are finished, then we'll open for questions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to say the question out loud because the audience doesn't know what it is. So here's the question that they're all going to answer. Tell us about yourself. For example, why did you choose to live in Edgewood? Why are you running for commissioner? And what is the most embarrassing moment of your life? All right, Mike, it's over to you.
All right, thank you. First, before the clock starts, I'd like to thank all the folks that put this together, Mary, Barbara, and the community that showed up. I really appreciate that. And I think it's going to be interesting to cover these questions. They're really thoughtful questions and thought-provoking questions, so thank you. So a little bit about myself. Well, I have 20 years in the Air Force. Settled here at the tail end of my Air Force career. We've been here for about 30 years, since 1996. We built a house and we've been in the same place that long. And then I took a job at Kirtland Air Force Base as a senior logistics manager, and I was out there for 25 years and retired a couple of years ago. In March, I took on the job of commissioner, and I've been doing that since to give back to my community. And I also did the Los Cerritos HOA for about 25 years and served in every capacity there as well. So that helped me to get engaged in the community and all of the different assets I dealt with the town of Edgewood during that period of time as well. Why did I choose to live in Edgewood? And I think that for the most of us, I think that that's the rural feel and the environment. Ability to have livestock is another one, and the good schools. We really wanted our kids to go to the good schools with smaller schools and have that interaction. And I grew up in a town of 420 people, so I was used to that small town environment, and everyone knew each other, and I really liked that. Why did I run for the commission? I was asked by my neighbors to to do that. Friends and family. There was a vacancy that came up, and they said, Dad, you'd be a good fit for that. And again, I wanted to give back to the community, and I wanted to help. I knew they were struggling in a lot of ways with turnover, and they had a vacancy that was kind of keeping them from getting everything done with that extra person on the commission. So I really wanted to do that. Most embarrassing moment of my life. Well, I've had a lot of those, and the one that comes up most recently is when the town has to point out to us where we don't know our own ordinances. And I've actually said that to the staff several times. How come, I'm almost done, I promise.
No, you gotta try to figure out.
How come that the town has to point out our ordinances in order for us to do the job? I said, that's really embarrassing for me, because we should know this better than anyone else. So, that's it, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. On to Mr. Anaya.
Thank you all for listening.
You can tell her.
You're gonna have us down. Ready to go?
Down, edit. It's not user friendly, edit.
Now, this is embarrassing.
It's technology.
Can I start talking before you go?
Go for it, yeah.
I want to start off with the second part of the first question, which is why did you choose to live here in Edgewood? I didn't. And the reason I say I didn't is because I'm kind of like a Chinese elm. I have very deep roots. My parents, his parents, and probably the parents before that were here. So it wasn't by my choice to be born and to be raised here in Edgewood. Basically, it was called the East Mountains at that time. Born and raised, went to school, graduated, went to Albuquerque for a while, came back, and when I came back, the reason I did is because I wanted to raise my daughters here from kindergarten all the way up, and we did that, and they graduated from here, went on to college, and have been very successful throughout their careers. The school system here, I was a part of it for a long period of time. I think all of you all know who I am. I'm who I am. I've been associated with the town of Edgewood for multiple years in some fashion. Whether it be through the Board of Education, whether it be through Santa Fe County with the CDRC, whether it be for now as the Commissioner for District 4. I had to look and see because we're actually may have a district number, but we're at large. We work for the whole town. We don't work for just a certain neighborhood. And I've always been proud of that, being able to do that. I'll talk to anybody they want from any part of the town, even outside of the town. We're all neighbors. Sorry. I got a lot more if you guys want to listen.
The only thing we want to hear is your most embarrassing moment.
I have none.
Must have been pretty bad.
Trust me.
All right, so we'll move on to the next Commissioner for District 4, or the one that's running.
Hi, my name is Steven Murillo, current Commissioner for District 4. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, so my parents moved out here when I was 5 years old back in 1991, so I grew up here, went to school out here, just learned from Phil that he handed me my diploma back in high school when I graduated, so that was fun. I forgot about that. And my whole family lives here, so this is where my wife and my children live. Why did I choose to live in Edgewood? So after I graduated high school, I knew I wanted to have a family and I wanted to have a big family. and I wanted to keep it somewhere where I knew the people, I knew the areas of Edgewood, and I wanted to have that same experience that I had. And so that's why I chose to stay in Edgewood and not move out. Why I'm running for commissioner, so for me, I never had an intention to be a commissioner, but I was asked to be a commissioner to, similar to Mr. Reardon, to fill a vacant seat. And so I believe what our founding fathers said, you know, it's our duty to serve. And so when I was asked to do it, I said yes, because that was my obligation as a resident and as an American citizen, right? And the reason that I want to continue running to be a commissioner is because I had the opportunity this past year to learn a lot, to get the onboarding, to start figuring out government, trying to understand how this works. And so I don't want to just let the last year be in vain. I see a lot of things that I want to get done in this town. I see a lot of things that we can do to make this town better and to protect this town. And what's the most embarrassing moment in my life? I'll just have to go to this past season. I was coaching a baseball game and I told the kid to run when he shouldn't have ran. And so that was pretty embarrassing to get your own player thrown out. So that was pretty recent, well, this past spring. So I made a bad call there.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to Mr. Chavez.
Welcome everybody, and thank you to the host for putting this on and give us an opportunity to speak to the public. My name is Adrian Chavez Sr. I have deep roots in the area. My family's been here for decades. One of the reasons that I moved to Edgewood was because my wife lived here, my current wife, and I love her to death, so I moved out here. I was living in Albuquerque. I didn't think I was gonna like it out here. I actually love it out here. I don't like people on top of me, so I can relate to what a lot of folks that have lived here for a really long time are looking for. We want to maintain our sense of rural community. Why I'm running for commissioner? I'm running for commissioner because I think I can do a lot of good in regards to my knowledge, the experiences that I've had. I'm a business owner. I went to school, studied, I did not get my degree in political science, but in like a math class and English class away from it. But I understand the importance of politics in local communities. And I think that it's imperative that we share that information, which come out and be a valued community resource and provide educational materials to our community whenever we can. As we stated earlier, there's papers in the back there. When I get to number 4, be happy to go and grab one and just kind of look. I think it's important for you guys to trust those of us that you're putting in these seats. Most embarrassing moment of my life, I was younger, a teenager, and I remember going to my friend's house, spending the night, and I had a crush on his sister. And his father woke us up about 5:30 in the morning to go clean out the dairy farm. I'd never been in a dairy stall area. I never realized how slippery those things were. So she was in there, I was trying to be all cool, and I slipped and busted my butt, and I was full of cow and so that was pretty embarrassing. Anywho, that's me in a nutshell, and I hope to provide more detail about me in the minutes.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Brennan.
You can go ahead, sir.
All right, a little bit about myself. I'm a retired Navy, 20 years retired Chief Petty Officer. Retired from General Electric. The last 17 years of General Electric, I was a manager, managing crews that worked in the wind turbines throughout the country and also across the world. So that's a little bit about me. I've been married for 43 years, and it's been great. We've been together, and she's always behind me. The reason why I moved to Edgewood is Edgewood has a lot of open space, and I wanted to have some land to live on. I wanted to have a place to put my stuff. And, the people out here, when we got to moving around, just wonderful. And very friendly people. And it just sold me on Edgewood. And why am I running for commissioner? I want to go ahead and continue the work that I started 4 years ago. There's a lot of things that we started off we wanted to do. We haven't gotten to everything yet, but we're getting there. We've made great strides getting to those points. and making sure that things are happening. And if you look around Edgewood, things are happening. There's been more road work going on in this town than there has been ever before. We've got more community events going on than has ever happened before. And Edgewood has become a more desirable place for more people around the state to come to move to. And I want to continue that. That's the reason why I'm running for re-election. Most embarrassing moment about myself, it was about 16 years old. I was at my brother's wedding reception, and I got up to give a toast to the bride and groom. And I called the new bride by my brother's ex-girlfriend's name. If anybody knows anything about me, the one big thing I have a problem with is remembering names. Luckily for me, though, my brother's ex-girlfriend's name was Alice. His new wife's last name was Allison. So I quickly realized what I did and made a quick recovery. I don't know if it slipped by, but that was my most embarrassing moment.
All right, thank you very much. So this time we're going to start with Mr. Anaya. And this is the question that he's going to be answering for us. Actually, all of them will. That question is this: what is your vision for Edgewood in terms of future commercial and residential growth, including your stance on the development of large residential communities? All right.
Well, I like that question. That's one thing that I've been doing for quite some time is I'm a contractor, so I have the opportunity to work a lot on developments throughout not only the state, but through the town here in Edgewood. And I believe in proper growth, and I believe in having the proper utilities in the ground to where you can have that proper growth. It doesn't have to be a large type of development. It just has to be a smart type of development that we need here in Edgewood. And the same thing with residential. As long as you have, and you can have what they call cluster housing, but as long as you have open space in the location of where the cluster housing is, it's a great fit for the town of Edgewood. But again, it all has to be done smart. And if you work with the planning and zoning and help out with all of the rules and regulations, or there's actually a better word for it, it's called ordinances, resolution and ordinances. And that's one nice thing about us is we get to determine those. And if you have people that work together, you can do a great job for us instead of just, for example, the strong mayor type operation. We now have 5 commissioners that at some point you hope that we all can work together and with different types of backgrounds and be able to establish a good, strong ordinance for the town of Edgewood.
Thank you very much. We'll go on to Mr. Morello. Murillo. Thank you.
I can't get it right.
Let's take me here.
So my vision for Edgewood, so in regards to commercial or residential, Edgewood's growing, and it's going to grow, and there's no stopping progress here in Edgewood. It's going to happen. And so for me, my view is, my vision is how do we do that in a responsible manner, and how can we be open and transparent about that? And so that's a big thing for me. I think it's important who we're putting on the planning and zoning boards here in Edgewood. I'm the only commissioner that has gone out and made it a point to make sure that we're interviewing those folks, not just so that I know who they are, but so that you all know who they are, right? I think it's fair that everyone can give me a call, shoot me an email, and give me their ideas about how we can do things. I think that's also fair for the planning and zoning commission as well. They should, people should know who they are. They should be a part of this community so that they can get input from the community. I do think though, one of my big visions for Edgewood is thinking about affordability of homes. And when I say affordability, I'm not thinking of, Section 8, low housing kinds of income type of development. I'm thinking for people that are 19 years old like me, being able to go out and purchase a home and start my family. My daughter, she wants to come back to Edgewood. She's 19. What is she gonna buy out here? That she can't afford anything out here. And so that's what I want to see for Edgewood, is a place where young families can come and raise strong families, because our children are the future and our families are what makes Edgewood so important. And so for me, that's what's going to be guiding my vision on how to move that forward. And that's the neat thing about having a commission form of government, is it's not just one person making that choice, it's a group that are taking feedback from the community to make those decisions for the town of Edgewood.
Thank you very much. Back to Mr. Chavez.
My vision for Edgewood is to maintain its rural feel. And that starts with the Planning and Zoning Commission. When I was on the Planning and Zoning Board, we created an ordinance that was approved by the commission. And it states that housing, residential places cannot go less than 1 acre. So that's the start. That keeps people from overdeveloping in certain areas. It's real important to also remember we have the comp plan too that we got to abide by. Maintaining that sub-agricultural type rural feel for our community. I agree with Commissioner Murillo. Edgewood's going to grow. I mean, why is it going to grow? People love the type of environment we have out here. I think in order to develop it in a smart way, it's really important to remember there's a lot of other aspects that contribute to the growth of any community, and that starts with income. How are we going to maintain our roads? How are we going to pay for these things? Where's the GRT? The GRT that we have now, we have existing businesses that contribute to that, maintain that yearly. It's going to be hard to develop beyond that. So we need to keep that in mind so that way when we move forward as a community, we have the financial ability to grow, maintain, and develop any new division within the town. I don't think that, I know I don't want large residential communities, and having sat on the Planning and Zoning Board, I'm glad we made that decision to keep it at 1 acre.
Thank you very much. Hold on. Okay, Mr. Brennan, go ahead.
All right, so my vision for Edgewood is to maintain what we have already, is to continue to expand on the services we provide. As far as for housing, right now the average housing cost in Edgewood is over $400,000. If you're a young person starting off, unless you've got one heck of a good job, you're not going to be able to get that house. So that we've been looking at what we call, what we call a, I hate to use the word affordable housing because it has a bad term. I like to say economically attainable housing for the income level that you're at. And one of those things is going to be small townhomes or small apartment complexes. If we want to go ahead and keep our kids that be able to live here, they have to have a place to start off with that they can afford. And those type of housing communities can do that and provide that. And as they grow up, they can go ahead and buy bigger and larger places like we all have. When I first ran, I said I would like to keep properties at 2 acres. But as I started to learn more and started to realize, you get hit with reality, the 1 acre idea was good, and it still helps us to keep our rural community. For commercial businesses, we have all of Route 66 or 333, whichever you want to call it, is commercial, and we can continue to develop that. But we need to put infrastructure in along there, and that means sewer and water. Because without sewer and water, we're not going to be able to get any businesses wanting to move in because they're not going to be wanting to set up septic systems and stuff like that. That we have some commercial properties on 344. It's been tried to add additional commercial properties to that, but people bought their land as residential, and if they bought land next to someplace that's residential, they don't want to see that change. And I am definitely in support of trying to keep it the way that is. I think we have adequate commercial properties right now.
Thank you. Mr. Reardon?
My vision is very much the same, I believe, as the rest of Edgewood. We want to retain the small country feel that we have, and it's a staple of country living. That's what we do, and that's what brought us here, honestly. And it's going to grow, like all the other commissioners said. One of the other things that we have in place that I think is going to be beneficial to us too is we have a 4-story limit on any construction, right? We want to be able to see the stars. We want to be in touch with nature. We like the fact that there's less traffic out here, less crime. You have space to move, and you're not right on top of your neighbors. It really does give you the small town feel, where it is going to grow, and we do that responsibly, and that's covered in our next areas of how we would specifically do that. But again, it's got to be responsibly done, and we have to be engaged, and we have to talk to our constituents out there to see what they want. And one of the things I keep hearing everybody say, we want a steakhouse. Yeah, that'd be really nice. But we've grown reasonably, I believe, over the last 25 years, and it hasn't got to the point where people want to move away. They're still wanting to come to our community.
Thank you. Okay, so we're now going to go on to question number 3, and we're going to start with Mr. Morello. That question is this: what steps will you take to determine what steps will you take to determine that Edgewood doesn't outgrow its water supply?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So if anybody's watched any of the regular meetings, you can definitely know that my goal is to protect Edgewood's water supply. I've always made a decision, you know, if we're gonna grow, we make sure we have the water. I know now that it'll be a part of the commission is to really consider what we're doing is, and you guys stop me if I start going into ex parte communication stuff here, but pretty much, you know, we are looking for water. We do have a plan to do it. It's just that negotiation portion, right, that we can't necessarily really talk about at this point. And so I think ensuring that we have ideas of how we're going to secure more water rights. Also, one of the things, and it was brought up at the last commission by other commissioners about, you know, how do we make sure that we're using our water efficiently and useful here in Edgewood, and that we're not watering golf courses. I'll just tell everyone right out the gate, I might have to recuse myself at some point because of this, but I refuse. I do not want a golf course in Edgewood, period. That's just a waste of water, period, and I don't want to bring anything to Edgewood that requires that type of water. I think Edgewood, at the end of the day, has been doing a really good job, right? We're trying to be good stewards of the water we have. We're setting up artificial fields at Venus Park, the previous commission. They did a great job with that. I love that idea. So that we're not using water, and I want to continue doing those types of things where whatever we bring into Edgewood, we're not wasting water and using it on frivolous things, but making sure that it's here, because in 50 years from now, if I make it that far, God willing, I want to be able to turn on my tap water and still drink the Edgewood water. I know people don't like that. Like I said the other night, I still drink the Edgewood water. That's what we had when we moved out here. That's what I drink. Probably not good for me, but hey, I want to be able to turn on that tap and still taste it. So that's where I stand on that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chavez?
I concur. Water is life. Water is important. I've already taken the stance of not being the city commissioner to go out and try to get as much information as I can to provide to the community as we have these meetings. I've met with, I've spoken with EPCOR, and I've also spoken with Idrinosa. What astonished me is in the media, in the social media realm that we exist, there's a lot of negativity and there's a lot of misinformation out there. And it's really difficult to know who's telling the truth. So what I and how I am, I try to get the data, the statistics, not just to talk to you guys about it, but to share it with you guys. I think that's an important role of any commissioners, to be able to not only come to these meetings and, you know, I always say bump my gums and just talk to people, but I want to prove to you how and why and what, and bring in the professionals that can do that, because I'm not a professional. I'm a guy, I said a while ago, I was a cardiopulmonary therapist for 24 years, I'm a business owner now, I own a security company. What do I know about water other than most of you guys turning the water on and off? So I try to educate myself, and I think that's a key component of educating ourselves. But what really struck me funny is when I had these meetings, I brought up the same comment that most of us would, you know, what and why do we have so low of a water table? And both individuals who do this for a living told me that is wrong. They said there's a huge water basin out there. The problem that we have in this area is that we don't have the ability to transfer that water to here. So I can only go with what the experts are telling me, same as anybody else, but I just thought I'd share that, and I think that it's really important that as we discuss these as a commission, as commissioners, that we provide evidence to you guys, evidence-based data to you guys, and accomplish the things that, you know, that are put in front of us. If you want more information about water, we should put a town hall together, bring in the experts to speak about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brennan?
Thank you. Yeah, water is a big issue, not only here, but throughout the entire state. But for us, at the commission, we have passed our water ordinance, which is our first step to be able to make the town a water utility. And we want to do that not to sell water to individual households, but you have to be responsible for all the piping that's in the ground going to each house. And that's too much for the town to take over. We want to be a wholesaler. We want to be able to go purchase water rights, and we're in the process of doing that. We've got our 40-year water study going on. That's another step that has to be taken. So we're taking those steps. Once we've completed these steps, we can also go to the state and the federal to get grant money to go ahead and help us to develop new water sources, to help water treatment systems. Because as a government entity, we can get that money. Unfortunately, Epcor and Tronosa, they can't apply for those monies, but we can. So we can go ahead and get those water rights, pull that water out of the ground, treat that water and get it to a good standard. Then we can sell it to those two utilities that can add it to their water and improve the quality that they're providing to their customers. But once again, we have to be that water utility. We're following those steps. The other thing too is technology is always going to be constantly increasing, and we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow as far as what technology is, and we need to go ahead and make sure we stay on top of it with the experts to make sure that we apply the new technologies that become available to us. Water is, like everybody says, water is life. Without water, you don't have a town. And we are making those plans to make sure that we have adequate water supplies for this town for many years to come. Because Edgewood is growing, and as you grow, your water demands are going to be going up. We're also working with the local communities around us to help stop the constant shipping of water out of this area to be used at other places like the wind farm roads.
Thank you very much. Mr. Reardon?
Specific steps. We need to closely monitor the growth and development. We have to keep the pulse of that close to see how much we're using. Carefully review the development applications. We really need to make sure we know what's coming here and how many developments are applying for those particular areas. We need to keep a close eye on water consumption. And we need to consult with the hydrologist to make sure that we're using the science behind that to see what rate we're going to be using that at and how long it's going to last. And one of the other things we need to do is be responsible with our water while we're using that. We had discussion on a water ordinance that we were in the process of developing, and it considered xeriscaping and some other measures we could take to ensure we had water to last into the future. The forecast models are another thing we need to keep a close eye on, and we want to use a reliable source in order to do that. So we got to take a systematic approach to doing this so we don't miss anything, and we look hard at each and every application and what the impact that's going to have on each use of water and how we're going to use it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Naya.
Quick, I can take his 30 seconds. You know what, I like this question very much because my track record speaks for itself when it comes to water. I belong on one of the boards that, or organizations that fought water leaving the Estantia Basin. When it went to Paco, that was the first time that our water was allowed to go outside of the Estantia Basin. I was on that organization that we took it to court and we won. So my track record speaks for itself. The water stays here in the basin. It will not go to Campbell Ranch because they're outside of our basin, so they can take us to court all they want. So I mean, as I say, my track record speaks for itself. Commissioner Brennan had brought up a good point about being wholesaling water to the community here. That was my initiative originally when it brought it up to the town, and that's why we're still working on it today. I'm working on dealing with companies, owners of water rights to make sure that we can accomplish and purchase these. And I'm working through the state, federal government for the funding for this type of program. This is not a and, if, or which. It is going to happen. I've already gotten commitments. I don't have anything in writing, but I have it committed verbally that we will be able to get funding from those departments because our legislators, both state and federal, understand that Edgewood is going to grow, and they believe that it should be grown in a proper way.
Thank you very much. This time we'll start with Mr. Chavez. We have question number 4. That question is, what infrastructure improvements are you planning during the upcoming term, and what resources will you need to achieve these improvements?
I think it's a $1 billion question, as they say. It's extremely important here in our area. The future of Edgewood depends on us being able to have and develop our infrastructure. Most of you, I mentioned it earlier, there's a form back there, and it speaks to roads. This is a pretty broad question, so I'm going to focus on the roads. The roads are very important, and the cost of those roads and maintaining the ones that we currently have is extremely important. That's why, as a commission, it should be focused upon maintaining what we currently have and putting together a process of developing the new roads along the way. I know that residents, that's their number one thing. That's what you hear from everyone. What's going on with our roads? And this is really helpful. This gives you guys an idea of if we don't maintain our roads, the exorbitant amount of costs that go up per mile in maintaining that type of road structure. From chip seal to mill inlay and reconstruction on new roads. You go from chip seal, it's $37,000 per mile. Now these numbers are from 2020. These numbers could be a lot higher. I'm not really quite sure. I'm not a road manager. But as of that time, in the mill and inlay roads, $350,000 per mile. But if you let that road go away, you're looking at almost $1 million per mile, $758,000. So, and if we don't maintain what we have, we're going to run into a lot of problems in regards to the cost to the town and to the cost of the taxpayers' money. Because we got to remember, this money is coming from people's pockets out here. So it's important for us to stay focused and get the job done when it comes to that.
Thank you very much. Restart the clock. Mr. Brennan.
All right, infrastructure. There's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be put in place. I want to save roads to last because everybody's going to talk about roads, and we all know roads are important. The other thing that's important is a sewer system. We need to go ahead and work on expanding the sewer system east and west on 333 out here. And that once again, like I said before, that will encourage more businesses to be able to come out here and start setting up shop and doing business, and with more businesses, it means more GRT. With more GRT, that means the town can now afford to do more things. It's just a continuously revolving cycle on that. So expanding our sewer capabilities is very important. So let me get talking on roads. The town has made a lot of purchases, and we've made strong investments into good road equipment. We do now have all of the equipment we need to actually build our own road from the plain dirt all the way up. We don't do hot mix asphalt, that's a specialty, but we have our own chip sealing equipment. And if you look at it, this road right here, Cactus, we had just finished chip sealing, and they're gonna put what they call a fox seal on next week. It's gonna give it that nice black color, and it's also that fox seal is gonna seal the top surface so that when the rain comes to us, it won't go through to get to the bottom of the base. That's a big problem with roads. You get water that penetrates it through, it freezes in the winter, and that creates those wonderful potholes we're all so familiar with. The other thing we're looking at buying one more piece of equipment, which is called a zipper. And with that zipper, we can go into the roads that we have that are already blacktop paved, and areas of it that have gotten bad, we can go and grind off the surface of it, clean it up, and go ahead and put a hot mix patch down on those. That's about a $100,000 piece of equipment, but we're going to get a lot of use out of it. And like I said, we're investing a lot into our roads to make sure we can do it more.
Thank you very much. Mr. Reardon?
Thank you. A lot of the same roads are right on the top of the list. In addition to that, I'd like to say this question says, what infrastructure improvement do you see needing? And I took the advice and the lead of the town to develop that, and I agree with them wholeheartedly. Capabilities, we need to expand those, and we've done that. When I first came here, I saw a need for additional road analysis, and we bought the road counters to do that. And we bought some equipment. We looked at a screener, and we added that. We added 2 positions to the road crew to do that. Develop a near-term solution for securing the community center. That seems to be a top concern for folks to get us a nice community, which we're working with the Moriarty Edgewood School District in order to try to obtain that building. That's one of the other things we're doing. Also, systematic upgrades to sewer, wastewater, and sanitation systems. All of those things are required as the town continues to grow. We want to ensure systematic use of the water supply, as we talked earlier, and bulk water supply wholesaler will give us a slight advantage in doing that. Would also like to see a police training center. We've talked about that in the shooting range, which brings a significant amount of revenue stream to the town, like the mayor was talking about, having the gross receipts tax. That helps consider. How are we going to do this? We've got to have strong, consistent planning and leadership. Leadership is the key, right? Tangible master plan and a comprehensive plan. And we need to dust that off and look at it and make sure we're following it. Citizen engagement. I can't stress that enough. Also, private and public partnerships and other federal entities and state funding programs, i.e. bipartisan introduction in law processes.
Thank you very much. Mr. Anaya?
Mine's easy, ditto. Actually, I am a strong believer in real estate has a saying, and it's called location, location, location. That's the real estate's #1 saying. Mine is experience, experience, experience. I have a lot of experience in infrastructure. I've been a licensed contractor for, since my license since 1980. My father was before we even had to have a license. So I've been in the infrastructure business for a long time, dealing with natural gas, dealing with electrical, dealing with roads. I've done subdivisions. Experience is what matters when it comes time for trying to determine how the town itself needs it in place. I've dealt with the state, federal sides of it. I've dealt with them both on funding to getting funds before I was even on the commission. We had committees that would go down and talk to the people in Santa Fe and even our federal senators and representatives. So again, it's all about experience, and I could go on and on and on and explain what I've done, but my record speaks for itself. Oh, I got 15 seconds.
All right.
Yeah, so just to pretty much feedback on everything that was brought up already. Yes, the sewer, yes, the training facilities. I might just go back to roads. Me personally, I like dirt roads. I like the messier they are, the more fun they are for me to drive down. I have an ugly truck that I like taking down those roads, so I enjoy that personally. But when I first came, that was the first concern brought up to me, was what are we doing for the roads? And as I went over this past year and trying to work it out and just getting frustrated with the whole process and system, I said, you know what? Let's just start a regular workshop meeting before a regular town hall meeting so we can just talk about it. And I'm really proud of that, because out of that, we have road standards now that Edgewood never had before. So now our roads manager knows how to build the road, what the specs are for that road, and how to move forward with things. On top of that, I went out of my way to make sure that we removed barriers, because the roads department is consistently getting redirected from one project to a different project. We're supposed to work on this road, now we're working on this road instead, and that really frustrated me. So I went out of my way to make sure that moving forward, the roads department comes to the commission and says, these are the 2 roads we're working on now. And as I get close to the end of that road, they can come back and come to the commission and get a vote from the commission. These are the next 2 roads we're working on, so that you start removing some of those distractions and redirecting behaviors. It's still in progress, and I'm looking forward to it. I don't know that we'll have enough good weather to get chip sealing for this plan, but I'm thinking in 2026 we're actually see a lot of movement on the roads, because we're giving ownership. And for me, that's the biggest thing, is put the right people at the right place at the right time. And I think with this new process, we're doing that. And we've removed a lot of those distractions. And so I can anticipate, personally, I think we'll hit a lot more roads this upcoming year than what we've seen in the past.
Thank you. All right, for our very last question, and we'll start with Mr. Brennan. The question is, how can we improve communication with the Edgewood community and involve the community to achieve the goals that are set?
Well, one of the first steps we've made already for this is we've made great improvements to our website. There is actually now a section of the website to where you can go on, if you have questions you want to put to the commission or put to a department, you can go ahead and put in there. Trouble calls that you're having issues, you can go in there. That's great. Our community liaison has also started working more on community involvement programs. I don't know if you've seen the wayfinding that's been going on, and every time we have a community event, they're trying to put a booth in there for the wayfinding. So the thing is to get out there and be involved with the community when we have these events and talk to people, and that's what I like to do. I try to go to every single town event we have, so I can talk to as many people as I can when I'm out there. And people will come up to me and says, aren't you one of the commissioners? I said, yeah, okay, I got something I want to talk to you. We'll sit there and we'll talk 15, 20 minutes. There was one time we were sitting there, gentleman and I, we talked for almost an hour about different things. We had talked about roads, we talked about loose running dogs, and a whole bunch of other things. The other thing we can do to help boost the communication is get the word out there better. That's the one thing the commission has had a hard time doing, is getting the word out to everybody. I don't know exactly what the perfect fix is going to be, but we are continually looking at it and working on ways to get out there more. Whether it be radio advertisements, our quarterly newsletters, or our monthly newsletter, You know, and like I said, every time we do a community event, we try to go ahead and make sure that there is some sort of public officials there to engage with the public. Like I said, I like to be there a lot of times. Another thing that we've talked about is, and this was brought up at one of the previous things, is town halls. I think town halls are great. You know, do them monthly or quarterly, but they are great, and advertising so people know to come. That's the other problem. People don't want to come. So, yeah.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Reardon.
Okay, thank you. I was hoping you was gonna call me next. I don't like to repeat what the other folks said, but you know, they all have good points, right? And all of us are striving for the same thing. But I generally don't like to read things. I like it to come from the heart, but I want to read these so you know where we're at and where they came from. 7 items. First one, unlock town hall. I've heard that I don't know how many times, over and over and over again. Secondly, enable YouTube and Zoom platforms for public comments. People that aren't able to get out, they want to see that. They want to be able to respond and or to get engaged, but they can't, right? Allow the community staff to immediately respond back to the public during open comments at the beginning of our meetings. We're restricted to not be able to comment. There's reasons for that, right? Because we don't know the answer right then. It may take us a few minutes to find it, and we don't want to put out bad information. But I want to hear what you have to say. It's not always what's on the agenda, and that's the next thing. Make sure that we open it up to not specify that it's just restricted to the agenda items. Increased time to speak is another one I've heard. We have a limit of 2 minutes right now. I want to see that increased, right? Hold and host more community outreach events like this. It really is a good way for us to get your ideas, your thoughts, and your concerns. We need to hear them, right? Most of all, ensure we have an open and transparent government. I know you hear that all the time, but that's the key to all communications. You got to tell us, we got to tell you what we're doing and why we're doing it. There's got to be a reason for it. Provide comprehensive town hall updates. Answer the questions before they're asked. Right? We could avoid a lot of the input requests if we just simply let folks know what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I'm a big proponent of that. I've dedicated my entire life to trying to share with people, and I gain strength from what they tell me, and then we turn that back around and we put it to use just like this.
Thank you very much. Mr. Anaya.
You know that this time clock is a payback. Thank you. First thing on the agenda, advance time for speaking. Second thing on the agenda is ditto. I enjoy working with you.
You as well.
He's hit everything on the nail on the head. The head on the nail. Good hammer. I really can't say much more than what he has said or add much more to that because he's right. He's absolutely right. And it's nice to have people that coming from especially his background as to his background and knowledge. And again, I go back to experience. That's what this is about, experience, getting the right people in place. And I'm glad that I have a lot of experience and I have it in the commercial side. So I just, everybody has good ideas. It's just a matter of how do we find a way to put it together. And I think that communication is the world's biggest problem. There's this thing called R&D. I don't believe in that. We're nonpartisan. We need to find a way to work together and better. Because we don't work for us, we work for you. You guys are our boss. And if you don't like what we've done, fire us. I think that, again, my experience, I should be able to, and I ask humbly for your vote because of the experience that I do bring to this board.
Thank Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with you, Mr. Reardon, on your list. That's pretty much my list in a nutshell. I agree in regards to like the town hall and the security and it being locked down. It doesn't belong to us, it belongs to the community. And so obviously that happened. I was agreeing, I wasn't sure what the concerns were, but that's something that I want to approach again and follow through. As far as communication, you know, I was a big advocate for the newsletter for the town and trying to get that out. I still ask about, most recently I was asking, well, what about the listserv so we can make sure that we get this emailed out to folks. And I'm hopeful that we can get that going and make that actually happen. And the other thing is people having access to the meetings. I know there's a lot of folks that are homebound and can't make it out. And I also understand that people have busy lives and sometimes they just want to go back and watch the video again later, right? And so that's my job. That's what I do for a regular, that's how I put food on the table for my family is communication. Not at just the state level, but at the national level and international level. And I have a really good idea how we can do that. However, when I try to bring that up, at the time when I brought it up, we just weren't in the place to start moving forward with that. And I'm thinking within the next year, well, by 2026, we can get that sorted out and taken care of and fixed, where people can do public comments via Zoom, via, you know, calling in. I think there's a way to do that, because I've done it, and I do it with people from all over the world with all kinds of different communication styles and abilities and access to resources. The other thing for me is, I think communication in Edgewood is difficult because people feel like they can't just reach out to us. For me, nobody speaks for me, I speak for myself. Anything that's put out has to come from me, and that's what I believe, because whatever I say is what I mean. And so my biggest thing is when people call, they're more than welcome to call me, shoot me an email, and I think I'm very well known for taking phone calls, answering emails, and getting back to folks.
Thank you. Mr. Chavez.
Man, that's a tough one to follow. How do you follow that? Those are great answers, guys. I think one of the most important, and I'm trying to remember not to repeat what he said, because they were all such good answers. I think to improve communication starts with trust. You've got to trust those that you elect. You've got to be able to put people in an office and hold us accountable for that position. We have an opportunity to go on 4-year cycles. We have 4 years to prove ourselves. If we don't prove ourselves in 4 years, then you should fire us. That's how life works. And anybody that owns a business knows that you don't have to wait 4 years. You got to do it when you got to do it to make things run efficiently and get things done. I'm kind of that kind of guy. I believe in holding people accountable. I believe that our community deserves these department heads who are in charge of all of these different departments, from roads to P&D, etc. If they're not performing their job, it's our duty as a community to help them improve in working and getting their job done. However, if they're not getting it done, then we need to make decisions and head a different direction. That's just fortunately life. And I think that that would serve our town extremely well to find the right people in these positions to be more successful, to make our town more successful, and the rest of us as beneficiaries of that will continue. If we have that pattern of thinking, and as our town grows, we'll continue to head in that direction. We'll fill the commission, we'll fill the town manager spot, and everybody else down below the line will follow that same leadership structure and get things done for Edgewood, New Mexico.
Thank you very much. Mr. Brennan. Oh, you answered.
I was first one.
Okay. Embarrassing moment. All right, so we can now open it up to any questions that you might have for the commissioners. Does anybody have one? Because if not, I have a few. All right. I'll start. Okay, so every single one of you stated the importance of keeping families here. But none of you spoke about any kind of youth programs or development of how to do that for our youth. Most families, if they want any kind of meaningful youth activity, have to go all the way into Albuquerque. And that's a long drive, and that's a lot of pressure for families who are working. Some of them may have to work in Albuquerque, drive back here, go back, and then come back. So what type of plans for a community youth center or community programs do you see that the town can work with, as some of you said, work with other private or other entities to get something like that here? And we'll start with Mr. Brennan.
Yeah, having things for the kids to do is really important. I know not too long ago, we didn't have a Parks and Rec, department, and nothing was happening in this town. There wasn't a whole lot for the kids. We've started to go ahead and we are implementing more things. We get the movie night, we get the teen dance night. We have the Teen Advisory Council, and that is teenagers together coming up with ideas that are good for them. I'm 65 years old. I can kind of forget what it's like to be a teenager. And so if you go to the source for that information to start building these programs. And a lot of the stuff that we've been doing lately has been recommendations from that Teen Advisory Council. Those kids are engaged. And the other thing that's real important about that, because those kids are engaged, that's our future political leaders. They're starting off. They're getting involved with the community. They're getting involved with municipality. Who knows? Maybe one of these kids that we've got here, we'll see their face on a billboard saying, "Vote for me for president." That's what I'm looking for. But to keep these kids engaged and to keep things happening for them, like we've got that carnival. When we have the carnival, the police department has told me both times they've almost had 0 teenager incidences out in town. Why? Because they were all engaged doing something. We had a teen group activity thing over at Venus Park, and when I was over there, and I was talking to kids, and they were loving what we were doing, and the one thing I didn't see kids doing is this. They were all engaged in other activities, playing with each other, and getting involved in the games that were going on. And they were having fun, but they were also working together. And that's what we have to do, is to keep that engagement going, to keep building on what we've already started.
Thank you. Mr. Chavez.
To a curveball, we're going backwards now. New things to do in Edgewood. Edgewood, I think, is a really interesting place because we have so much land space and the community wants to stay rural. Well, this ties into economic development. How do we do this? We can develop, and they don't cost a lot of money to develop baseball fields, football fields, soccer fields, things like that. We can bring in GRT money for people coming in for the weekend. So they're here Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They spend money with our local businesses. They're able to help us, increase our GRT to maintain roads, et cetera, et cetera. It's kind of a trickle-down effect in that sense. Youth sports in the Southwest is massive. I was a coach for the better part of 15 years. It's an extremely financially, economically driven component of youth sports. As a father, I would spend $400 or $500 a weekend, and we'd be out of town at least 2 weekends a month. So it's extremely lucrative to a community. So they come in, they spend that money, and it stays here, and then they go home. That's the beauty of the whole thing. And that's what Edgewood says they want. They said they want to remain sub-rural, so we're not attracting a large amount of people to come move into our community. They come spend the money here, and then they're out. So that's what I think as far as youth sports, and I think Commissioner Brennan had brought that up. The town is really trying with the YES program and other things. I think it's important because the youth are the future of Edgewood. And if we can help them maintain civility and help them to become a better citizen, I think not only as parents, but as citizens ourselves, that's what we want in this town.
Thank you. Ms. Morrow.
Yes, so I'm actually a part of the Parks and Rec group, and great to see how hard they work and all the effort they put into putting on these events for our youth. Mr. Brennan mentioned several of them. Mr. Chavez, you mentioned the YES program. You know, I'm really proud of that, and I'm glad I get to be a part of that. But for me, one of the things too is just how hard our library is working and how many kids go there. The reason I brought those two things up is because that's my family group. That's where my kids go. Teen nights, my daughters are there. Library events, my kids are there, right? When it comes to sports in Edgewood, I'm a big supporter of AYSO for the soccer out here, trying to make sure that we support them as much as we can. Big term pictures for me, I want to see a club ball team out here for any sport. I don't care what it is. But I think baseball would do fantastic out here, and I've been talking to people about doing club ball out here. And another thing I've talked with Commissioner Adrian about is where can we send our youth to go ride their dirt bikes? I get so tired of seeing families load up their trucks and their trailers with dirt bikes because they're gonna go out to the west side, take all their money, spend their money out in Albuquerque, instead of doing it here. We have the space, we have the places to do it. Yes, I want to continue doing the trails for our community so they can hike those trails, but we need to start setting up dirt bike trails. And we don't even have to make the dirt bike trails, they'll make them themselves. They're side by side. I really want to see that out here because we have the beautiful landscape for that. How many times have we had the opportunity to go ride bikes somewhere and see just how beautiful Edgewood really is when you're down in the dirt on a bike, riding around. So that's one thing I really do care about is the sports here in Edgewood, but also the dirt bikes and side-by-sides here in Edgewood.
Thank you, Mr. Anaya.
One of the first things that I got to do when I was elected to be a commissioner for the town of Edgewood was I got to work on Echo Ridge, which is most of you, I know that a lot of you don't know where it is, but it's on top of Edgewood 7. It's that entire block that's up there. And I worked tirelessly to make sure that we get that for the town of Edgewood. And we're almost there. We've done all the improvements, and it's just a matter of dealing now with the final paperwork to have it turned over to the town. All the investments came from the town, and there's a lot of trails in that area, horseback riding, and since we're such a rural community, horseback riding is one of the big things. Bike riding is another thing. Going down Edgewood 7 to where we can have them riding their bikes is another pretty positive thing for them to do. The sports program, as far as the athletics, which Moriarty Edgewood School District has good programs in place and pretty decently rated. I think that the town of Edgewood needs to look a hell of a lot closer with the Board of Education. And this is a two-way street. They need to open up their eyes and say, hey, Edgewood is a big part of the Moriarty Edgewood School District. And by the way, the reason it is called the Moriarty Edgewood School District is because of me. I had them put in the word Edgewood. We were the big supporter for the school system.
Thank you. Mr. Reardon.
Most folks said already, our primary mechanism to reach the youths would be through the Parks and Rec. And one of the other things I think we could do, similar to what Kirtland Air Force Base has done over the years, is take your kid to work today with you. Not to mention you could have shadowing programs with local businesses where I sent technicians to Rich Ford to allow them to walk around with the technicians and learn the trades business, go with the plumbers, do different things to that nature. We could do things like youth 5K runs or hikes. Anything when we have the mountain, we have the terrain, we have everything here, we could do that. We could pattern things after the 4-H sponsor some sort of a deal like we did, was it Summerfest, where we had the animals out there from one of our other commissioners brought animals, which was really good for the youth. We have church programs here that's already going on that I would love to expand on, meaning that they've got the youth rodeo is out there too, which is really a lot of fun. We could expand on all of those things and get way more engaged, and I don't think it costs a lot of money to do that, right? It's just really spending time with your kids. I think that's at the end of the day what everybody needs to do, and we can help that along. What else did we do for the kids? Like the Halloween things, the hay rides and stuff that are coming up that we do every year in our subdivision. We try to do that locally, and we have kids coming in there. I think one year we had well over 100 and some kids, 6 or 7 trailers, and drives around, and then afterwards there's little parties, and all the kids go with their parents to these parties, have barbecues and all kinds of stuff. So I am a proponent of getting that kind of stuff done, and it does make a difference. And this environment here really is what gives these kids morals, values, and ethics. And the more we do with them, the greater that is.
Thank you.
So is there anybody else?
Thank you. So I have some context and then 2 questions for you. In the past, the community and many of us fought very hard to keep Edgewood Elementary School open. It was successful the first time, and then I was outvoted the second time. The community, rightfully so, was extremely upset, and the school district promised that Edgewood Elementary could be a community space for the community. The town designated it as a historical landmark, as one of the very few historical buildings that we have left in Edgewood. And I know litigation is occurring right now on that, but it is something that we desperately need. We definitely need that, and it is so valuable. Taxpayers have already paid for that building. I would guess it to be, if somebody had to rebuild it, it's 600, 700 a square foot, is what I'm hearing from clients. And I see Commissioner Anaya is saying it's even higher, which probably is. So what is that? Roughly 30 million. So you don't just knock down a $30 million asset, right? So my question to you is, first off, will you stand strong for that taxpayer asset and come to the table with the district? And then secondly, do you support the $20 million bond that is on the ballot right now for the school district, asking the taxpayers for $20 million more? And with that context, just so you know, I think in the last bonds, when we calculated it out, other than security and things that all of the buildings received, Edgewood got, kind of some paint and gravel and some very minimal things out here on the west side of the district. So to the generous taxpayers, I think they need to come to the table and work with us. So those are my 2 questions. Will you support standing strong for pursuing that building? And also, do you support the $20 million that they're asking us for?
All right, we'll start with Mr. Reardon this time.
Excellent questions. I'm a big proponent of repurposing anything. That building that you're talking about doesn't belong to Moriarty Edgewood. It belongs to the people. We pay for it. Our tax dollars went to that building. For it to sit idle like this, it really bothers me. It disturbs me that we're not able to use it. It'll cost about $1 million to fix that building the way we want it and set it up with everything we need. Maybe a little bit more. But that building right now is worth about $14 million. And they want about $1 million to tear it down. So does it make any sense to anyone for us to spend $1 million to tear it down or $1 million to fix it, where we can use it and it can be a staple of everything that we have in this town to use right away for a community center? It's there. Do I support spending $20 million more for the schools? No, I don't. And that may be a cold answer right now. Maybe a smaller amount I would support it, but I would really want to see exactly where that money is going to go to and how much of it Edgewood's actually going to get. I would like to see that. So if there was something we really needed and you could demonstrate it to me, I would support that to some extent. But just a blanket $20 million, I would not do that.
Thank you. Mr. Anaya?
I didn't find out about the bond until the other night when Audrey told me about that. And she knows that I have fought many times, many battles over bond issues with the Board of Education, both when I was on it and when I was even off. The school building that is currently in question, when I was on the board, we had talked about that being designated to the town of Edgewood. It was already a done deal. Unfortunately, when I myself and the superintendent left the school system, they changed. The superintendent that came in and the board that changed said no. That building is going to be knocked down. And the reason they wanted to knock it down was because it was insufficient for education. The education department, which is called PED in Santa Fe, says, no, you guys are not going to knock the building down. And this came all the way from the directors. And I was sitting in those meetings. And they said, you can sell it, or you can move it down from the 40 acres that it's already sitting on. If they want to build another school in that location, it's a great location to do it. You have an additional 20 acres sitting in the back that's able to be built. It's just unfortunately that there's this thing that's separating Edgewood and Moriarty, and the people that had control over the time were members of Moriarty, and they were friends of mine. They still are friends of mine, but we disagree 100% on what that building needs to be done. It was designated to be part of Edgewood, and I will continue to fight that fight until my last breath.
Thank you. What is your view regarding the bond? She had 2 questions.
Oh, I'm sorry, I took most of the important one. Bonds, I don't support them right now.
Thank you.
I really don't.
Thank you. Mr. Morello?
Yeah, just to answer that, so as far as the $20 million bond, so I pulled up my early ballot and read it, and so I'm looking into it currently, but I agree with Commissioner Raridan. Generally, I don't have a blanket support for bonds in general, so I can't give a super clear answer at this point because I'm still looking at it. I just found it, so I need to go double check it and look into it because I always do that. In regards to Edgewood Elementary School, I know all the commissioners plenty of times talk about, you know, every time we walk into it, I was like, oh, I did detention over there. That's where I had my first kiss with my girlfriend in grade school, and you probably weren't there. You know, I have a deep connection to Edgewood Elementary School. That's where I went to school. I caused a lot of mess over there myself as when I was a child, right? For me, what I really want to do is I want to have open lines of communication, and I've been working really hard to make those lines of communication happen so that we can start negotiating and start trying to get onto a better path, because I do want that school as part of Edgewood. I do want to see it be used, and I think there's an opportunity with a fresh voice and a familiar face with the school board and the current superintendent to have an honest and open conversation and to do it so that it is beneficial to the town of Edgewood. So, like I said, I went to that school. I have a lot of memories in that school, and I don't want to just see it torn down, obviously. But I think the best thing actually is to have those open lines of communication. And I'm a big fan of facilitation. That's a big part of what I do for my work, as well as facilitating conversations between parties. So I feel like I would be a good voice for that to make sure that it's beneficial to Edgewood.
I also would not support it at this particular point in time. I've read the bond, I don't agree with it. I would fight for the school itself. It's a really tough, I've paid attention over time about this issue. I'm not the current commissioner, so my voice is out there, but I don't know how to respond other than the fact of it's currently in litigation, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So my question would be to the commissioners that are sitting on the board, and I'd be happy to defer the rest of my time. Where does this stand? When was the last time you guys were in court, and where are we at with this?
Does anybody on the commission currently know? Or can speak about it?
It's kind of
So
hard to talk
general
about this.
stuff.
If it's under litigation?
Look, there is talks that we're going to get with the school board. Okay, yeah. Yeah, because anytime things are in litigation, you have to be careful what you talk about because it's just the process. And, but we are trying to get a conversation with the school board, and we said, listen, we're all adults, let's get the lawyers out of this and let's go ahead and talk, board to board and try to get something to do. So we had something set up once, and for some reason they came and said, no, we don't want to do this. But I think right now they are moving towards it. So, fingers crossed, prayers. The other thing also is everybody here, if this is something you're supporting, go to a school board meeting and let your voices hear. I've been to a lot of the school board meetings. I think they know exactly what I'm going to say, but they need to see new faces.
Thank you. Can you answer the second question regarding the other?
Well, I'll go ahead. I'll do a full thing on both questions. As far as that school building, yes, we need to be able to retain it. That building has strong bones. Just be able to get in there, start using it, about $1 million. To really do a proper renovation so it could really be useful, it'd be closer to $3 million. But still, that's a far cry from $20 to $30 million of building a whole new building. We've been looking at it, so definitely we need to get that. That building has a lot of potential for a lot of different things. We've even had community colleges say that they would like to do classes in there. So I fully support getting that. And that's been my track record up to this point. For the school board bond, I am against that. One of the things is they have yet to show me that they can properly spend the money they get. The other thing here is, everybody realize all those wind turbines that are up there? There is a certain amount of money from the monies from those wind turbines that are going to the school districts. But they have to be used in the county where the wind turbine's at. That's Torrance County. That means none of that money can be used in Santa Fe County. But this $20 million bond that they want to pass, guess where about 75% of that $20 million is coming from? Right here. We're paying for it, and we're not getting anything. I go to these Mountain Cowboy Church. We do our services over here at the middle school. There was no running water, and there's no heat. All right. The school board needs to step up and do the right thing. And but asking for an open blank check for $20 million, I can't support that.
Thank you. So there was someone else who had a question?
I never stand up just for
Hi, everyone. I've been taking notes on my phone, so I'm not just being rude looking at my phone while I'm talking to you. But
Modern
a huge,
technology.
yes, exactly, that goes to my question. A huge gap that I'm seeing in terms of community involvement is a lack of a formal structured survey that members of our community complete on an annual or biannual basis. And I know I've heard you all say that individually you're collecting community feedback, you're hearing issues that are important to us, but I think that you're missing a major opportunity to put out something that's very easy for all of us to complete. This could be online. It could be a survey that's formal, structured. We put it online, and every member of the community could go to the town website and you could ask what are the gaps that we currently see as members of the community. You could ask what are your most important priorities. And I think that would be a really easy way that you could get input from a large swath of the community. Further, I think that a master communication strategy could help you guys put in place priorities, activities, and tasks to be completed on like a quarterly basis. You could share that with the community so that they know what you guys are gonna do as they occur, rather than kind of like, oh, we're having this event, let's post it and let's think about putting flyers. Like this strategy would help you guys get things planned for ahead of time so that you could really spread the word in a tactful way. So my question, long story long, is when was the last time a formal community survey was completed, and how are you all as commissioners working together to prioritize the gaps and improvements that the community identifies?
We'll start with you, Mr. Bennett.
So the last survey that we did was the wayfinding survey, and that was online, and people, you can go ahead and answer it. Problem is getting that information to that website to a lot of people. The same thing was when we did the survey for the Blue Bus and the microbus transit system here. There was this online survey to do. We had some good participation. I think we got like 100 people responded to it. But it's sad when you're living in a pocket town that's almost 6,500 people. And we've had other surveys when we were doing the town's master plan, comprehensive town plan. Surveys were out of that, and we even had it on the radio to go ahead and get people to get in there. And we did have a fairly good response. I think that was closer to 300 people. But once again, population 65, needs to be better. I was talking to our community liaison. We're thinking about the idea is getting an email registration set up to where people can go ahead and register their email. And when we have things like this, it would just be an automatic email going out to their to them when things are going. There is a small problem. We do have a certain population within this town that are not computer savvy, online savvy. And the other thing we're talking about is maybe for those people that they could register their address, and then we can do a mailer for them. To do a mailer for the entire time, the cost for it is just not within what we do. I mean, like you said, electronic communication is a lot more affordable. But for those who don't have access or just have trouble with it, they can sign up for a paper mailer. So that's something we want to start working with. And I don't know when we're going to be able, when the liaison wants to bring it to the entire commission. But working on it to put something together. We want to make sure we have something that's good, that's usable before we bring it to the full commission.
Does any other commissioners have anything else to add to that?
I can. Yeah, so that's something that I deal with on a frequent basis. My regular job is surveying residents here in New Mexico, and just getting people to do a survey is a nightmare. And so for me, really what I'm not opposed to doing surveys or doing anything online. For sure, I think we should do those things, and we should still, because there is useful information when we gather that, right? But I think the challenge is, the only way I've ever gotten people to respond to surveys is with incentives. And once you start offering incentives, then you start getting hit with plenty of hackers or folks from India giving their feedback to collect those incentives. So it truly is a nightmare trying to do those kinds of things. For me personally, what I'd rather do is to have more town hall type meetings where we can just come together like we are here in a setting, and we can break bread together and talk to each other and get to know each other, and also to be able to have a formal session where people can just come up and say, hey, we want to talk about this, and then we can have a discussion as a group. I think we've gotten pretty good about holding workshop meetings. I think that's a great example of how it could look like and how it could work. And the other thing is to encourage our neighbors to come out and talk. It's scary how many times I talk to somebody and they're like, oh, wait, we don't have a mayor? It's like, well, we're a commissioner manager form of government. That's how it is, right? So people are in, they're busy, they're doing their lives. And so trying to get them at the table is the challenge. But I think the more community type events that we're doing, right, like the carnival that was mentioned and these different activities that we have, where we're bringing people, we need to be intentional, and I don't think we're on timer, but being able to take advantages of those opportunities. Water days at Venus Park, for example. Hey, this is a great time to have some QR codes up for all the moms and dads that are there and say, hey, what kind of activities are you interested for your kids? We need to be more intentional about hitting those types of things and getting their feedback instantly. So that's kind of how I'd see it. And obviously, I'd probably like to talk to you more about what your ideas were on that, because I don't have to be the man with the answers. I just have to be the man that can help get us to the answer, right? And so I'd be very interested in that conversation and later down the road for sure.
Thank you. Did you have an answer, Mr. Chavez?
Comment, yes.
Comment?
Response to what you just said, I thought that was a great question, because it kind of puts the commission and the town in a position to get into the newer versions of technology that are out there. I think that's an important component of any commission, any town, is to reach out to the senior population. I think it's our responsibility to go to the senior center and try to develop some kind of a computer kiosk, hire people that will go once a month to be able to provide them information on how to navigate through their phone systems, those kind of things. If they refuse to or don't want to do that, that's fine. That's their choice, right? But I think as a question that you're asking is so important for us as a community, because in Edgewood we have such a diverse age group. We have over 30% of our population is 50 and above. So I think we talk a lot of times in terms of youth and that kind of stuff, which is the future, which is exactly right. But we also got to remember we've got an important population out here that is laying the groundwork and the foundation for the very land we sit on. And that's our seniors. And we need to treat them with respect and dignity. So I thought that was a great question.
Does anybody else have it? Mr. Reardon?
Well, that was my daughter. If you all didn't get that. Well, what a wonderful suggestion and a thought-provoking question. Way back in my day, they called that a suggestion box. But I think I'd like to nominate you for office.
No, hard pass.
And she definitely got her mother's smarts. That's obvious. I really enjoyed doing things like this, and I paid attention to this. I had a comments box, suggestion box, critique box in every organization that I had. And I took that seriously because people really didn't draw any punches about telling me what was wrong and what we needed to improve on. So it is an extremely useful tool, and if we get the pulse of everyone out there, then we can improve. Again, it goes right back to community and communications. So thank you for that question. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you. So is there, yes.
I don't know if this is, my name is Nancy, and I've been a volunteer at the Edgewood Library for 4 years. I don't know how many people have been there lately. It's a fantastic library. I've been there 4 years. It's getting better and better. But I have a complaint I want to say, and I don't know who can help with it. But just yesterday, 2 ladies came in, a mother, probably in her 80s, and her daughter, got cards. And it happens all the time. We can't believe this library. It's fantastic. But my one complaint, and I don't know who can fix it, and I'm a little tired of it after 4 years of seeing the roof. It will not repair the roof. And I'm tired. It's not funny. I take it personally because those poor librarians have to come and put tarps and move all the books, and it's ridiculous that they cannot fix a roof. I'm sorry.
$20 million from us.
It just, so can you tell I'm passionate? Because this is a beautiful library, and those librarians work so hard, and the volunteers, I love that place, and we can't even have a roof that won't leak.
Mr. Nye, you seem to have an answer.
Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, when we were just elected, I got in trouble for getting on top of that building. Because I wanted to get up there and see exactly what the problems were. As a contractor, I knew what I was looking for. And I made suggestions to the board, and they says, no, we're just gonna leave it alone because we want it to rot. That is a wrong thing to say to me. But that was what they said. And the reason that's why we don't have maintenance on our buildings over there is because their strategy is to let it rot. Now, I wish everybody in this room.
I have a question. Do you mean the school board said that, or our?
No, these were members from the school.
Okay, they said that.
They said that. Individual.
All right, just wanted to know what board.
Yeah. Oh, no.
What you're talking about.
Let me change my hat here real quick. No, and I had fought with him over that stuff, and when I took it to the State Department, I talked about it too, and they said, well, you know, the maintenance comes directly from the Board of Education here. They're in control of what gets fixed and what doesn't get fixed. So when we talk about the bonds, by God, if you start taking the money away from them, they're going to start listening. And the growth is not here for them to even build another school right now, because that's state statute, the way that that's operated. That's the way that they figure out how to get the funds. And I really, honestly hope that this town of Edgewood would just how many of yeah, be nice. How many of you all can count to 3? You know that's what it takes to change?
Yes.
3. And right now, our district only has 2. But yet we are the largest. As far as Moriarty versus, and I hate to use this word, versus Edgewood. It's not the way it is. It's the surrounding areas for Torrance County and Santa Fe County. We're only southern Santa Fe County. We're not the entire county. But yet, they are a large portion of Torrance County. And that's the way the guidelines work. And I know this for a fact because I was there. And you people can make a difference. You really can. Maybe we'll be able to change some of the things when the next census comes out because of the growth that we have here. Now listen to this one real close. We're 65 plus in our town of Edgewood. They're 20, or excuse me, 2,000. But Torrance County is a lot bigger because of the mass. And sometimes I think that we count the cows over there too.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm speaking from experience again.
Thank you. All right, any other questions?
First of all, thank you for being here, so we can hear what you have to say. My name is Linda Wheeler. I'm proud to be part of Edgewood, and I guess I'm considered yoga because I'm 86 years old. I want to get shot by a jealous woman getting on an Air Force jet when I'm 100. Talk to everybody, children, adults, middle people, people that work in Albuquerque, or people that work in Moriarty, or yes, we do have to chisel the water out of our faucets. that's part of being here, and the growth that comes with knowledge is right. If we're going to be arguing about petty stuff, or what somebody wears, or what they're not doing, or they're working here or there, this has got to stop. Talk to the little kids. Ask them what they think. Sit on the edge of the bed of a little child and start there and communicate with them. I have kids in my 60s that still call me from California to share their problems, not ask for anything, which is good. And yes, I am trying to win the lottery so I can get the money to get Edgewood situations done. The blue bus was a great idea, still is, but we've got a community that's talking to one another. And please, please keep this forum set up, not closed off because she looks like.
Thank you. You had a question?
Hi, hey, I want to thank you guys for the great trails outside of the First Choice in the back behind your giant mound of road work. We got a couple road issues that I'm wondering about. I'll just comment on that and then I'm gonna digress from there. That crack in from the bridge from Smith's to Walmart, I'd love to see that fixed. It's like getting bigger. Also, we've got a culvert over by Aspen and Quail that could tear out a tire. And I talked to the road crews about it when they go by, but you know, I need to send you all a picture or something. Thank you for the community center thing. I'm wondering if we can, you know, get a letter writing thing out to the school board in Moriarty to kind of get some oomph on that, because community center would be awesome. And I don't want you to forget the mentorship that could happen. Like my vision of a community center would expand to the arts, you know, music, painting, all the sculptures, but also the mentorship of trades. So you could rebuild that place if you got a decent program going to fix the roof and have insurance for it. But also teaching kids, you know, the mentorship of electric, your contractor, subcontracting, plumbing. Yeah, because then they can fix their families' houses as well. But every school board and every school situation has the M&O to repair these places, and we could set up, you know, trades like that. But if you set it up for the kids to learn a trade or have apprenticeship with any kind of, you know, any kind of trades, that would be something that you could set up classes for within that community center. And then we'd have arts, music, dance, trades, cooking, you know, the whole bit. So if there was a motion on that, that would be amazing. Anyway, I'm digressing on it, but don't forget the expansion beyond.
That was
sports.
Aspen and Quail?
Yeah, Aspen and Quail. It's been going on for years.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Just as a note where she's talking about the mentorships, my hometown back in Iowa, they only have like 2,300 people in there, and their school does something like that, and every year they actually build a house. And then they sell the house and give it back to the school to do more. So it isn't impossible that we could do something like that out here ourselves. There was one lady over here who had a question.
Okay, I was at the September 9th commission meeting, and at that meeting I heard that the town has overspent for fire services to Santa Fe County by $2 million. I also heard at the same meeting that the overtime pay that is being processed for the police department is being done incorrectly. In addition, at the last commission meeting, it was reported that the town's fiscal year 2023 audit was just now being sent out to the state auditor for review, and we are late with fiscal year 24 audit, and 25 should be done right now at this time. I've heard some of you comment about fiscal responsibility on the school district's part. What about the town of Edgewood? I'd like to know what you plan to do going forward to get the town's fiscal house in order.
So I could
Who's that?
Jump in.
Yeah, so I agree with you about the overtime pay in the police department and how that decision was made last year, right as I was joining. So It was a decision that I never agreed with, and I actually went out of my way to go in and to set up a process to get that fixed. Of course, you all probably at that meeting saw a bunch of the back and forth that went on. And those are the kinds of things that, when I find those kinds of things, I try to get on top of it and work on it. And that was a great example of overtime. That bothered me. I did not agree with that. I've never been in a situation where somebody could get overtime like that and still use sick leave, to kind of expand for those that aren't aware. And so, I'm glad that you pay attention to those things. And believe it or not, when you go up and speak in town hall, I do write down your notes for me to go look at things. I really do that. And so, when that was brought to my attention, that's something that I had a big problem with. And as of now, that's been taken care of. The overtime issue's been resolved. We went back to the original policy of how that should be done moving forward. And so I think we're going to keep finding these landmines, right? I'm not sure, only being on for a year and trying to catch up. I won't talk about the audits. I'll leave that to folks that were here for that. But as far as the fire fund protection, I agree with you. When I found out about that, and the overpayment on it, and it was based off some calculation from 15, 20 years ago, that was very frustrating. And just so that everyone knows, the commission does take that seriously, and we are looking at that to kind of next steps. I know several commissioners have offered, like, we'll just come up there and let's go talk. And Ken, you actually might have a little bit more information on it, but I know that's a big thing for sure. So, and I appreciate the community actually coming out and pointing out things to us as well, right? Because you're the eyes and ears for us. You're the ones who give us insight. A lot of times you give context to what's going on. For some, somebody like me coming in, being appointed just to fill a year and a half worth of a term, it's super helpful when folks would reach out and say, hey, did you know about this? Like, no, I didn't. And now I can go and do my research and get on top of it. So, but I do want to say the overtime pay thing was taken care of, so.
Okay, Ken?
All right, so yes, the 23 audit is done, has been sent up to the state. In New Mexico, you have to do your audits in sequence. 24 was already ready to go, so we couldn't even start on 24 until 23 is done. Problem with 23 was there was an investigation going on that also involved another entity, and I can't go into it because of legal issues. But those documents that were needed to do the audit would not be made available because of that external investigation that was going on. Once they got done with their investigation, the audit team, cranked it up and started working on that audit. We got it done. So that has gone up to the state for approval. 24 has already started. We're getting everything lined up for 25. It all takes one little pebble in the road really to mess things up when it comes to audits, but you got to do them right. And we have an auditor here in the room, and she knows exactly what I'm talking about when that has, the way that has to go. So that's on the audit. The thing about the fire department, this was brought up by a previous clerk, and they were looking at paying the bill for the fire department, and pulled up the agreement paper that we had with the Santa Fe County Fire Department and how this would be paid. And she was looking at it and says, this doesn't make sense on the calculation that we're supposed to do and what we've been paying. So she did a little research, and going back, the town has been overpaying for almost 20 years. For as long as Santa Fe has been providing our fire services, we've been overpaying. And we even had a treasurer that we had previously looked at it. He didn't understand why it was like that. And I don't know why he didn't bring it up to us to let us know that this is not right. He just went ahead and said, well, we're just going to continue paying it the way we've been paying. Well, the way we've been paying it forever was wrong. And our town staff caught it, and we brought it up to Santa Fe. And Santa Fe wanted to backtrack real hard because they actually want to start charging us more for the fire department. And was saying, well, shoot, the way we're figuring it out, we've already paid for our fire protection for the next couple of years. So, and that's another conversation that we're gonna have. We're supposed to be having a mediation with Santa Fe County to go ahead and resolve that with the Santa Fe County manager. And we're gonna go ahead and get this fixed. But like I said, I looked at the numbers they were showing me. I looked at the document, what we had, and yeah, the way it's been calculated before, they were doing it wrong. Because it's a percent, what we pay is a percentage of the GRT, and it's 1/4 of 1% of the total GRT for the town is what the fee is supposed to be for us for the fire department. And we've been paying like 15%. I may have 15%, it's a high number, I may have that wrong, but it's, yeah, it's ridiculous. We're getting that fixed. But it was a town staff member that caught the error, brought it to the town manager, and they started working on it.
But no other administration had figured it out.
Yeah, nobody's figured it out, and nobody can understand why. I looked at the numbers and it says, okay, that's easy math, you know, that's 4th grade math right there.
That's why we need to find other schools.
Mike, you have a response to that?
Well, I'm sure this is on all of your minds too. If it's been going on for 20 years, why didn't we catch it before now? You know, that really bothers me because if our audit was working properly, it should have surfaced at some point, right? And I'm happy that we did catch it when we did. This was before my time, but we need to be paying attention. We need to be auditing ourselves first before relying on anyone else to do it. We need to go circle back and check our own work. It's that simple, especially when we're handling public money, taxpayer dollars. It's our sworn obligation to do that. I think we can do a better job. And that's what we're striving to do. I'm happy that we caught it when we did, but we need to do better. One of the things we need to do is draft policy that states that we're going to review our work. We can't wait until the commission sees it 3 days before a meeting, and then it's too late. It's already out there, right? It's already out there on the agenda items, and if it's listed wrong, we're going to have to retract it, and then we're going to have to reschedule the meeting in order to get it fixed. So I really want to put a mechanism in place where we look at everything with a fine-tooth comb and we catch our own errors before somebody has to tell us we're doing it wrong. And in this case, we did catch our error, just a little too late, but thankfully we're on the right track now to get it fixed. And I was the one that said, I don't have a problem going to Santa Fe and standing on the top of somebody's desk. That's what I'm good at. I mean, that's where I shine. And I do ruffle a few feathers here and there to get that kind of stuff done, but I'm willing to do that. And you're right, Mayor, we do not. Heck, we shouldn't have to pay anymore for a few years in order to recoup our lost funds. And that money could be going towards what roads, right? Roads.
Yeah.
That's where it needs to be.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chavez, did you have a comment?
I had a comment. And that exactly, I'm glad that question was raised. That's why I'm running. It's important for people to understand that consistency in education and any kind of government is key. And we have to get to a point in our community after 25 to 26 years that there's consistency. And you can hear from the great questions people are asking, there's been a history of inconsistent behavior in our government. So we need to really work hard on getting that up to par. It goes into with the message of this meeting, the future of our town. I just wanted to remind everybody, I'm not the guy behind the scenes yet, but these guys, I was trying to give them the grace to answer the question because they sit in those seats and should answer it correctly. But I also did want to be the wallflower over here, and you guys helped overlook me. So I wanted you guys to know I think consistency in education in the seats that occupy the positions for Edgewoodians is key.
Thank you very much. Yes.
So it's sort of related to my question. First, I want to thank you, gentlemen, not only for today, but also for your service to the town. In your case, Mr. Chavez, your willingness to serve. It's very much appreciated. The concern I have is kind of related to this. I've been tracking the commission's activities until the last few months. It seems to me during that time there's been quite a bit of turnover in our bring some stability to that situation.
Mr. Brennan, would you like to answer that?
Sure. Yeah, we've had some people quit, we've had some people retired, we've had some people terminated, for cause. When we first started out, our first town manager and our first town clerk were interim. They already said, we're only gonna work here for a year. And we're just doing this to get you up and running so you can start moving along. We went ahead and we got a clerk to replace that clerk. And we had pulled that clerk from our police department. She was the administrative assistant over there. And basically, so it was a promotion for her, up to the clerk. The town manager, we had reached out and we had hired a town manager. Unfortunately, there were some issues with the town manager. It wasn't a good fit. Things weren't working. And then we pulled in another interim manager. And once again, this interim manager came in and said, I'm only working for a year. He didn't quite make it a year. He got a fantastic job offer from the Fed to go work at the Air Force Base out there in towards Alamogordo. And he used to be, I think it was the Alamogordo School District. School superintendent. So, but in what he had already been doing is our town clerk at the time, he had been training her on the responsibilities of the town manager because she was also his backup when he was away on vacation, anything like that. So since he had already started, we then went ahead, the town clerk then became the town manager. And then once again, internal promotion, but still considered turnover. So we got a new clerk to fill in for there. Well, that clerk, when we hired her, she went ahead and told us that I am expecting a baby. That's fine. Unfortunately, after the baby was born, she was having her own issues, and she said, I can't do this anymore, and resigned. At that point, there was a gap in our town clerk, so the town manager, since she was the clerk, was actually doing both jobs, trying to pull that together. And until we got another town clerk. The town clerk that we got to replace her came from Torrance. In fact, I went and called her. I said, I understand that you said you might be interested. So we had a long conversation on the phone. And when we got done, she said, okay, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put my application. And she was a certified clerk, and she was well qualified, and we hired her. And she worked up to us, worked with us for quite a bit. But she had issues with some of the people in town, the way she was being treated by certain people, and she went ahead and just, I can't do this anymore, all right? And then Estancia, the mayor over there where she was working before, said, I will give you a raise to your pay if you come back. Well, people follow the money. And also the fact that she was having those issues here and just the stress wasn't very good and she wanted to go ahead and leave. She left. We had an interim clerk who came out of our finance department, and she just worked up to recently. We now have a new clerk. The clerk that we just hired is a certified New Mexico clerk. She's got their certification. She's working on her master certifications for a clerk, and we got her out of Bosque Farms. She was the deputy clerk down at Bosque Farms, highly qualified. So she is now our clerk treasurer. The lady that stepped in to fill in for the clerk treasurer position is still working for us, and she's back in the finance department. In the finance department, there were some issues with some people, and unfortunately, the town manager had to let them go, so we had a turnover there. We now, our finance manager that's in there, she's been doing a great job, and she's working hard, and she has no bones of telling you, says, no, you can't do that, which is really good. They started working on getting a lot of the minor issues that are out there. We went through a shift in the program that we use to operate. One's called Encode 9, we went to Encode 10. Even though they're from the same company, they weren't compatible, so everything was manually transferred over. We had our police chief, our first police chief retired. The second police chief we had retired. Now we're on our third police chief. So people that retire, I wanted to tell them, says, no, I'm going to chain you to the desk. You can't retire, and we can't do that. The other ones were disciplinary actions, and I don't think it's proper for us to go into those.
Thank you very much. So, does anybody really have something they want to have?
What's it gonna take for us, because we're the cash cow of the education, the school district, to break away from that? How can we do that? I don't care, we're the cash cow, we pay for them.
No question.
I'm tired of paying for those guys over there, and we're not getting anything.
I think that's going to take a lot more than just what the town commissioners can do, because I've tried to look into this. And there's a lot that has to go into breaking away and starting a whole new school district. It's, because that's what you would be doing, because you would be breaking away from the Moriarty Edgewood School District and just creating a new school district here in Edgewood. And it's not to say it can't be done, it's just, there's a lot of stuff.
One of the things we have to do is stop passing these bonds that put us in debt. So we have to stop that, because to even buy ourselves out of there is going to cost a fortune. So that's the first thing. We have to have a public outcry against their bonds that bring nothing to this community. So that would be my first thought, is to, we've got to stop going into debt.
I think it was Mr. Anaya had stated, and it was just brought up to him regarding the school bond issue being on the ballot. I didn't know it was on the ballot until I read something, I think it was from you on Nextdoor, somebody put it on Nextdoor, and I saw it. I was surprised, because it's not like it's being disseminated out to us that this is happening. They just, in my book, covertly put it on there and then expect you to put something down on, when you go in the ballot sheet, which is crazy. But
one of the benefits now, though, is because of the way they changed the election law. Their elections are the same time as our elections, because it used to be like in the school board, and all the teachers would just vote for it and pass it, and so now it does have to be more public, and we do have the opportunity to actually have a campaign against it if somebody wants to take that up.
good. I just want to make one comment. I think it was, what I noticed was that you brought up, or it's been brought up, that as commissioners, you don't necessarily know everything that's going on in the area. I mean, you're one person out of however many miles that you have. When I lived in Wichita, Kansas, they had a similar situation, or they had commissioners. Each commissioner there, and I don't know how this is done and how they did it, had what they called an advisory board. And they would choose certain people that were living in their district to advise them on things that were happening in their district. And they had their own meeting, and then that helped their commissioner be able to be more informed about what was happening. I know that in my district back there, we squashed a very bad theft ring. And it happened to be a very simple thing to do. I just made it was actually a neighbor 2 doors down from my house. And I happened to make a comment to the police commissioner who was at the meeting about having a guy ride his go-kart down the street with no lights on, and you could hit them. And it clicked something to that commissioner. And 2 days later, they did a raid on that house and found all this stuff. But there was other issues. We had parks and we had all sorts of stuff. But as members of the community, we could see this and we could talk to our commissioner about it. And sometimes that's, a lot more information, because they have their work they're doing during the day. They're not out there necessarily walking around. I don't know if that's something that could ever be done, but it's a suggestion that I would like to suggest.
Mayor, I appreciate that question, and it kind of led me to want to take time to explain to the folks here kind of where our structure is. What you said is exactly right. We are not out there every day. We don't see all of this, and our structure is set up in a fashion that it does allow for some things to slip through the cracks. And in all honesty, how that happens is, if you look at our org chart, there's direct lines of supervision, and then there's dotted lines of supervision that, for example, our town manager doesn't have authority over other appointed folks. That comes directly back to the commission. It takes 5 of us to supervise one. So in essence, you have 5 supervisors, but you don't have any. I mean, it's true. So in order for us to make a decision, we have to come together, and 3 of us have to agree on what to do. And we don't always see the big picture because we're not there with daily operations. I mean, really, our charter tells us that the town's supposed to pretty much run. We're the governing body that oversees, makes the decisions as the town and the public brings it up to us. But to me, that's a handicap. Mr. Chavez brought up a question to me on the first session. What was one of the things that I found most challenging? And that's exactly it. That you can't really talk outside of one another to bounce ideas off because we have a rolling forum, right? Folks in the public don't really see that. And I'm not used to that. I'm used to getting the problems brought to me. We sit down with my staff, we make a decision, a plan to fix it, and we move forward and take care of business.
They can do it in an open meeting, they just can't do it like closed, having coffee or something
Right.
like that.
Which brings me back to what we said about communicating and having more meetings. Going back to the other question, why is there such a great turnover? Well, there is internal issues. There's personality conflicts. And a lot of times that structure prevents us from doing what we need to do expediently and quickly and trying to figure it out. Right? There's some barriers in there that we've got to work through. I've got some ideas for that. There's some policy changes that we could look at that may help that situation. But I just wanted to take the time for y'all to understand how that there are some challenges for us too, right? And we're trying our best to overcome those challenges. But that's a good question. If we don't talk, we don't know what's going on. One of the things that we just put into place was that all commissioners need to be told what's going on. We can do that via a blind courtesy copy where we know what's going on. We don't have to respond. We don't have to make a decision on it or offer an opinion. So, yes, I saw some other questions out there.
Yeah, we want to wrap this up. I don't want to keep you here forever. One more question, a couple more questions.
Okay. I called 20 people for this meeting today. The indifference, they said, oh, we're not coming because the Broncos are on.
Hey, I'm here.
If you want to change, you gotta step up and say, here I am, and I'll be a pain in the ass. I did there. But we've got to get together and get the interest and the stir up to get people to come to these meetings.
Agreed.
Four of you sitting behind the table are my people. One of you wants to be my people. You want to be our people.
Yes.
You work for us, not the other way around. Your people behind you at the commission are your people, but they're my people as well. Those who work in the library are my people. The people's house is closed. Will any of you vote to open the people's house?
No, town hall. Oh, town hall.
Why is it closed?
You're saying town hall is closed.
Yeah, but why is it closed? Was there a reason or an incident or something?
The doors are locked.
Well, I know that, but I don't know why they're locked.
So, to answer your question, sir, I agree with you 100%, and I said that the other night. It's not my house, it's our house. And so I agree with you, and I don't know why it it was done that way. Like I said, I've only been on for a year, and when it happened, I was just trying to figure out how to get onto my email at that point. So I agree with you 100%, and I don't see why it should be closed either. People should be able to go and access that and be able to go talk to the front staff and say, hey, I have this problem, who should I talk to? Whether it's planning and zoning, whether it's a road issue, they should be able to see somebody in person and talk to them. So I agree with you 100% on that. So that's something that I'm not gonna write it down because I already put it in my notes the other day in my notebook at home of things to follow up on. So I agree with you on that, sir.
Go ahead.
Guys, thank you so much for your time. Thank you guys for your time. And this may be more of a comment, and since we're running over time, but I heard a lot about Edgewood and growth, and that we need to have the infrastructure in place for all of that. I may be a little bit biased because I'm come from Edgewood, a corner store, and I miss that Edgewood. But what is you guys have standards for commercial buildings coming in, and even like placements and types of businesses can affect how a town grows and operates. So, and this may be my ignorance of not knowing what goes on in P&Z, but do you guys have standards that you're going to be looking for as the town grows? And what is your perspectives on a common look and feel for the town so it maintains that charm and, like a small town that we like versus something thrown haphazardly together or whatnot? So, thank you.
Great question. I really agree with that sentiment. I would like to see a theme for our town. And one of the other things that I really want to see is us to clean up our town as far as weeds go, tumbleweeds, and a lot of that's because of the fire danger. But I think we need to have a common theme, and we don't have one right now about what the building should look like in a mountain community. And I believe that would come from the public. What's the public want to see? Well, we grew out here to have a country environment, right? I think that's probably the thing that most folks are going to want to see. So yes, good question, and that's something that's on my radar to bring up among the other 7 items I mentioned earlier as a result of what the public has brought to my attention.
I'd like to respond to that as well. 25 years we don't have a theme. It's crazy to me. This has been going on. I've asked this question 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Nothing's been done. That's why I'm running. I have ideas, I have a passion, a desire to get things done. I can work across the table with all these guys. You guys are the bosses. Let's make that clear. I think people forget that. The question that you asked earlier, that question is easily answered. It starts with leadership. If we cannot have strong leadership in this community, men or women that are willing to sit up here and are challenged to get something done and share with the community along the way. Anybody that knows me will learn quickly. I share all kinds of information because it's up to you guys to ultimately help us make that decision. We've said it several times, we're one person, but it takes 3 of us to accomplish anything. And you're gonna pick the right 3. Because if you don't, 25 years later, this is the conversation we're gonna have. So I think Edgewood has a huge potential in so many different areas and has good people, but it's gonna take the community to make the right decision to put the right people in office in order to make these things come to fruition.
Thank you.
Audrey, did you have a question?
Yes, actually, a clarification that I won't feel comfortable without saying it. But just to frame that up, we all know that government is very bureaucratic and things move very slowly. And in some cases, it's a good thing because we don't want government intruding and overrunning our lives and controlling our lives. At the same time, we don't want immoral things happening, for example. And at the same time, we need things to get done. And I hear you say, and others, we're just one, and that is absolutely correct. It is, you are a legislator, and sometimes quasi-judicial. You are not the executive. And so your job is mission, vision, policy, procedure, oversight, accountability, and then it doesn't take three of you. You know what it takes? It takes the administration to actually go, and that town manager and all of the department heads to do their jobs and go and make what you vote on for the people, by the people, of the people, to make that actually happen. And I think that's where the breakdown is, and the clarification I need to make is on the fire funds. I don't know, former Councilor Holly, if you remember, but Juan Torres, the previous clerk, brought up that we were overpaying fire. And I know another clerk brought up that we were overpaying fire. And at one point in time, there were questions about if we're gonna be paying this much, shouldn't we just have our own fire department, right? And so I do remember the chief and former Mayor Pro Tem were going to go renegotiate the JPA. And when the commission first took office, that JPA was nowhere to be found. It couldn't be found. And so they went to Santa Fe, right? Another instance is on Nextdoor. We figured out that citizens were being overcharged by the Soil and Water Conservation District. I have provided that information countless times. I passed it on to the next administration. I told every single town manager about that. Do you think that those citizens have ever been refunded? Probably not, right? And so what it takes is, you know, an individual board member can't just go as an executive person and go and make something happen. What it takes is the town manager and the town administrators to say, I'm not gonna pay this bill. I'm not gonna pay this. Or I am going to pursue these meetings until we get our citizens the refunds. And so back in that time, I don't think anybody knew the exact amount or anything. I don't remember that, you know, amount being told to us by Juan or the other people in finance. But I think there was knowledge and there were definitely questions, and the former chief and Mayor Pro Tem were saying, this has got to be renegotiated. And so that was something that was on there to do. But then again, you have turnover, you have elections, you have resignations, you have new clerks, new managers, you know. And so, like you said, a lot of things sometimes fall through the cracks. And so I think it's really important to have a workflow system where all of that is tracked so that nothing gets lost.
Thank you very much for those comments.
Anybody else?
Devin Taylor, why was he not here today?
We don't know.
Oh, okay.
Just watching the Broncos. No.
That's priority, isn't it?
Just a comment, I like how you guys are thinking about the look of the land here. I don't want Edgewood to turn into like everywhere America. I mean, the Denny's is dead here. And you know, as you're building different stuff, like keep conscious of, you know, not having everywhere America. Also, yeah, I had another thought, but.
Thank you for tearing down all the crappy houses. We appreciate that. I don't appreciate the mice and the cats that are coming out of that nasty house.
I've heard.
Well, I would like to thank our commissioners for the
Yeah, thank you.
thoughtful.